Halo Combat Evolved introduced the Master Chief and players the 343 Guilty Spark, the AI caretaker of the Halo Ring Installation 04. Guilty Spark was just one of many Forerunner monitors, caretakers of Forerunner installations across the galaxy. Circa the events of Halo 5, humanity has discovered most of the Halo rings, but details about their monitors are scarce. In this video, we're going to go down what we know about each Halo Array monitor and their current status. Note that there are some spoilers for the Expanded Universe books here, chiefly Hunters in the Dark, Primordium, Fractures, and Renegades. You've been warned. Let's start with the monitors we know least about. Installation 01 and 02. We don't know the exact name of Installation 01's monitor, but following the multiples of 7 numbering convention used by the monitors we have met, we can guess its designation, 001. Besides being present for the dispersal of all the rings from the Ark, basically nothing is known about it or its installation. The same can be said for Installation 02's monitor, 007 Contrite Witness. Besides the name, the Spartan Field Manual contains one useful tidbit, that Contrite Witness queried the Ark for a status update in 2490, meaning the monitor was active at least fairly recently into the modern era. Installation 06 and 07's monitors, which would have the designations 16807 or 117649, have likewise made no appearances in Halo yet, despite the fact that humanity has a presence on Installation 07 by 2555. The human scientist Luther Mann suggests that Installation 07's monitor might just be hiding from humanity, given our rather poor track record at keeping Halo installations intact. And yeah, he's got a point. Installation 05's monitor was 2401 Pendant and Tangent, and he first makes his appearance in the clutches of the Gravemind in Halo 2. There's a lot of evidence that 2401's guardianship of Delta Halo was rather lax almost from the beginning. He was the last monitor that 343 Guilty Spark was in contact with following the Halo event and reseeding, and only a few hundred years after that, his installation suffered containment failures. What followed was a centuries-long war between Forerunner security and the Flood outbreak, with the automated defense systems of Delta Halo fighting an apparently losing battle with the Flood once the humans and Covenant show up and offer more bodies up. It's unknown when the Gravemind formed or how long it had Pendant and Tangent in its clutches. The Gravemind leaves Delta Halo for High Charity, but it's unknown what happened to Pendant and Tangent after that point. Maybe he's still on Installation 05, which is currently under quarantine. Installation 03 was monitored by 049 Abject Testament. The ring was discovered by humanity just after Installation 04 by an errant colony ship fleeing the destruction of Tribute. Dedicated research of the installation would not occur until the end of the Human Covenant War. Despite years of research on the ring and securing the ring's activation index, however, Abject Testament didn't make himself known, and even during the pitched battle between the Didact and humanity, in which the monitor's static Carillon assumed control of the ring, Abject Testament remains AWOL. So what happened to him? Several possibilities are suggested by the Combat Evolved Anniversary terminals. Dealing with his boredom and cut off from all contact with the other monitors, Guilty Spark considers leaving his ring for a few hundred years to explore a nearby gas giant. Perhaps Abject Testament considered such an excursion and was disabled on leaving the installation. Space is dangerous. But perhaps an even more intriguing possibility is also found in the terminals. During the events of Combat Evolved, Guilty Spark comes into contact with a curious Covenant AI aboard Truth and Reconciliation. The AI appears to be jumbled and malfunctioning, its responses fragmented and confused. But most interestingly, the AI seems to know the truth of the Halo Array and is hoping the Covenant will succeed in their quest to leave him free. Given that the Covenant have repurposed other AI in the past, it begs an interesting question. What if the Truth and Reconciliation AI is actually a commandeered fragment of Abject Testament? We know the Covenant use AI in limited means, and that they've repurposed captured human AI, so why not a Forerunner one? Given the Prophet's opaque way of reverse engineering discoveries from Forerunner relics, perhaps they came across Abject Testament, and familiar with the dangers of the Oracles from their encounter with Medikit Bias, decided to essentially rend him apart and utilize him in a safer, compartmentalized way. While this might not boost the possibility of this theory being true, it's worth noting Abject Testament's voice actor in the Combat Evolved Anniversary terminals is the same as for the Mystery AI. Perhaps that's one lingering question that's already solved. 343 Guilty Spark is the single monitor we know most about. He survived the damage to his ring during the events of Halo Combat Evolved, and played an important part in causing the dissolution of the Covenant following his reveal of the truth of the Great Journey. While Master Chief exploded Guilty Spark at the Ark during the events of Halo 3, his story doesn't end there. A human recovery team sent to the Ark after the events of Halo 3 encountered the heavily damaged remains of Spark, and these remains were brought aboard the UNSC ship Rubicon. Spark began relating his history and his original identity, that of an ancient human, Shakas, who played an important role in the closing days of the Forerunner Flood War. Seizing control of the Rubicon by transferring himself into the ship's systems, Spark left behind his old shell and hijacked the Rubicon, intending on finding the librarian. Unfortunately for him, the Rubicon crashed, and that was more unfortunate for the human crew, who perished. Spark built himself an armature body and sent a distress signal, eventually being found by the crew of Ace of Spades, a salvage ship commanded by Ryan Forge. The Monitor and the crew formed an unlikely bond, and Guilty Spark ultimately decided to save his new human friends, taking on a new identity as Spark and forgoing his former station. The latest we heard from Spark, circa the events of Spartan Ops, he and his crew were on the trail of the lost ship Spirit of Fire. That's all the monitors of the Halo rings, but the Ark, the foundry and remote activation site for the Halos, has a monitor caretaker itself. Master Chief doesn't actually encounter 000 Tragic Solitude during his trip to the installation in Halo 3, but that isn't to say he doesn't appear. Sharp-eyed players reading the scattered terminals will find logs between Tragic Solitude and Guilty Spark. Solitude, like Spark, was originally a person. In Solitude's case, the Forerunner Splendid Dust of Ancient Suns. A member of the Ecumen Council and one of the few survivors of the Forerunner Flood War, Splendid Dust volunteered to be composed as the Ark's caretaker. Like 343 Guilty Spark, the years of isolation took their toll. After the devastation of his Ark, Tragic Solitude set about repairing the facility as best he could, but also plotted revenge against humanity. Forcing a captive human, Bobby Kodiak, to activate the Halo Array, Tragic Solitude waited for humanity to return to the Ark to stop the firing sequence. Tragic Solitude used the Ark's fauna to test the allied human and Sangheili teams that arrived at his installation, luring Olympia Vale from her compatriots to the Ark's citadel, and ultimately sending sentinels through the portal of Voy to mine Earth for resources. After a standoff, Tragic Solitude was destroyed by Kodiak, but the Ark would still be repaired under the direction of humanity, leading to conflict with the ex-Covenant faction known as the Banished in 2559. So that's where the Halo Array's monitors are, or we think they are. Whether or not they'll show up again in Infinite or otherwise remains to be seen. If a significant portion of Halo Infinite does take place on Installation 07, this might be the time we finally meet its monitor. Let's hope.